We're gathered here today to help one another out with decision-making, support, protection, move forward. We've done these great big time jumps I've just talked about. And with the skies lightening up and everything, we're getting closer to reveals and other things happening. I mean, Trump gets back in probably around November or something happens. So we have to be ready. We have to have the support there because people are going to come at us.
I agree that, yeah, we are all brought together for a reason.
Yeah.
And we need to use this as a community, as our tribe, to be able to speak to each other freely, openly, no ego, no agenda, no judgment, etc., and support each other, because we're about to go into, some pretty heavy stuff when all the reveals come out. And if we can't turn to other people, we need to come together.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And I think it's going to be important for us to have that connection with each other, because that's also going to help support us get through what's coming.
And some of us are remote. Some of us are on our own, cut off from other people too. Think of that, There's times when I wish there was someone like you guys just sitting next to me here and I can ask you something, Or like even, the other day when I was asking you about something in the room and someone came back with a really good, I can't remember, it was a really good reply. It was probably you, Miss Orion. And I was like, oh, that's what I needed to know. Thank you. Took that away with me, And so this is what happens. It's good to have that security, that backup, that space of support, because we are going into a really difficult period. And we've all got families, we've all got connections that we're worried about, concerned about, Did you want to add anything, Teresa?
Well, I'm glad there's this space, because we can help each other. And when things do get really tricky and you can't talk to your family or friends, especially if they're not on the same wavelength, at least we've got each other in this space. And sometimes things happen, and for whatever reason, sometimes you just can't think because it's all coming at you, and you need to be able to talk to somebody else.
You can't see clearly.
So we need them.
Yeah, you can't see clearly. It's your thought is clouded. And so what I was looking at, I went through some of my old notes from my training days, believe it or not. And when we talk to people on the other end of the phone, you always they usually call you because it's not life-threatening. Usually they've got a huge big decision to make, something like along the lines of family matters, separation, do I have an abortion, those kind of decisions. And so you have a list of things that they print out for you to ask them. And one of them is to investigate the whole situation. So if you were walking into something blindly, open it up and investigate it fully like you would, do your research. So when we're looking at making decisions and we need help, investigate the situation, do your research, look around the whole situation, but also look for alternatives that are going to be a little bit less harmful to you or more positive to you, either way. So that's exploring your options. What options do you have here? Because quite often I've had people ring me and they say, oh my goodness, I'm getting separated. How am I going to, especially men, biggest concern that men have when they're making decisions is how am I going to afford it? Because their whole programming is to support the family unit. And so they think immediately child support, those kind of things. So explore your options and ways to make that work for you. Best solutions, best outcomes, best solutions, not just for you, but maybe there's someone involved, like a child, a partner, a spouse, a baby, or whatever, always look at what's the best solution. So if you're going through something with your family and you can't get hold of someone that you need to talk to, list it down, look at other solutions next to it, because that's always a good option. And then have a plan. Always have a plan, because you can always change a plan. You can make adjustments to a plan. And that's one thing you learn. You would know this, Sharon, and project management. You always have a plan to run by. And if it goes over, under, or out, you can adjust it accordingly.
Yeah, definitely.
And then the other one was to communicate your decisions with people that understand you. So if you're not talking to an operator on the end of the phone, you're coming into a group setting like our group, or a one-on-one work colleague. So always discuss with others that are going to support you or on the same page as you. So don't always go to someone that's going to tell you something negative or has different programming. Go to someone that you know you can trust and get a good answer or outcome from. So that's the other thought around, if you're going into something, say, especially now we're looking at service options, how's this going to work for us? So decision making is huge. What's the best way to do this? Or say in Noah's retreat, you've got 3 things coming at you. You can either take in some chickens, build a hen pen, or save the cows across the road, or do something with your natural medicines. So you would look at ways around what's the best outcome for you, and then have a plan and communicate that with others to get the support and help that you need with it. So you look at different options around it too. And after you've made a decision, something to look at is, how does this affect me? That's a really big decision, especially if you're going through a breakup or you're going through, say, a health issue. What else do we have that can affect your decision? Health issues, financially, so look at how it's going to affect you. So is it the best outcome you want for yourself? Because you've got a plan, but you've also got solutions. And then look at, will I get hurt by doing this? Will it hurt me personally, my personal growth, my soul? Will it hurt my service role? Will it hurt my what else will it hurt? Will it hurt my reputation? Not that we're worried about our reputation, but I'm talking in general, because we don't have egos, but in general. Will it hurt my family? That kind of thing. What is the outcome? What is the outcome? Is the outcome a positive outcome? A semi sort of, it could be a good one, it could be a bad one, depending. Is it a risk? Do I trust this outcome? Those kind of questions are what we should be asking in the room when we're trying to work through things, instead of just trying to do it on your own all the time. Reach out to us and ask these questions. And will it be accountable? Will it be something that I can justify and be accountable for it? And this is really important, because a lot of people are not accountable for their actions when they've made bad decisions. The amount of people do not get accountable for their decisions and apologize. So there's that thought around it too. How's this going to look if it fails? So
I think sometimes people don't ask the questions because they don't know how to ask it, or they're afraid to ask it. It's trying to help people to feel safe enough to be able to do so.
And that's where the support comes, our support. That's why we have to open this space for support, or anyone does. How many people in corporations say our belief is to cause no harm. and we have an open space. We're not racial, we're not this, we're not that, but when it comes down to the nitty gritty, yes, they are. Then you can't trust them. So why don't we make a place for people to come and help others, especially when you're going to be meeting new people now, like Sharon did the other day. She met an amazing group of people. And there's going to be conversations come up where you might want some feedback on it, or you want to be able to talk it out with us and teach us something and share information. So we need to create that space because it's not out there in the community anymore. Like you said, we don't know who we can trust. So you need that space, I feel, anyway. Okay. All right. So then when you're making a decision, this was something that was really important, because when we get a call, or even in HR now, when I did my stunt in HR, we had to read the person basically and work out what their state of mind was. And if you were interviewing someone on the phone, you had to ask them leading questions to find out what state of mind they were in, especially people that were going to the mines. The aspect around that is safety. And if someone's, I don't know, say someone's reliant on alcohol, drugs, or that's why we used to do criminal investigations, and we used to do police checks and things like that. So you have to understand and know yourself. Am I in the right mind? Am I in a good space to be making this decision? Ah, and then looking at our spiritual growth, this is best for our highest good. Would our higher self tell us it's okay? Or are you just listening to ego and wishful thinking? That's the other thing, because that can get in the way. Because I know quite often people will go and get a reading from a tarot reader and that, and they'll read into it differently to what the tarot reader is saying, because it's what they wish for, not what they want to hear, if you know what I mean. That's why I find those readers, when you go to a reader like that, it's very hard because your ego gets in the way. You only want to find out what you want, not what the outcomes are.
Yeah. You see it from your own perspective and what you hope, and that's what you'll read into it, whatever is said.
Exactly. So another thing we should be looking at, how does this affect our vibration and others around me? So the people that are connected to me, this group, the people around me, the people that mean something to me, the ones that are in the same high vibrational frequency, how's it going to affect everyone? How's it going to affect me? Is it going to be in my highest good? Sometimes you have to let things go, like your families and people in your life, because it's not for your highest good. That's where you need support on that one, because as things start to come out now, we're going to be finding more and more of those kind of conversations. And then the other one is, which is a real hard one to accept, is there something wrong with me that I need to work on before I make this decision that's the highest good for myself? Am I seeing this clearly? Am I seeing it to a point where I'm in a good space, physically, mentally, vibrationally? Because you can't make a decision if you're in a bad space, or you're in a space of loneliness or desperation or sadness. You don't make good decisions.
No.
And the other one is it good for my health? Because quite often when people have come to me for, when I've been on the phones and I was getting 3 or 4 calls a night, and usually it was connected to what was happening during the lockdown. And the first question was, is this good for my health? Not about the vaccine, but things in general. you know, and people were worried about their health all of a sudden. My health, is this going to hurt me? You know, is this going to harm me? There's this terrible disease out there. Is there anything else going to get me? Have I got cancer? I've got all these symptoms, you know. Everyone was Googling symptoms online at that time because they were at home and they weren't able to see doctors. So they got paranoid. And the other thing is, what are the consequences? What are the consequences here? Do I risk losing people? Do I risk losing connections, financial losses, you know, upsets, that kind of thing? Accountability in front of people, in their eyes, because people will judge. We won't judge, but others will. That kind of thing. Am I letting people down? Am I letting myself down? There's all those to think about as well. So that's decisions that I came up with. Has anyone got anything to add to that?
Then there's also the thought of making a decision and then feeling guilty because you think that the way you're thinking and what you want to do may hurt someone else. So then you have that going on in your head as well.
So you've got the guilt as well. And you've got the unsurety because you haven't got the experience in that area to see or make that decision clearly. Yeah. See, that's a big one for people that have got to let people go. That's a hard one. It's a really hard one. Letting people go. Some people are ready to be let go, though. Have you noticed that? They don't ever come back into your life. You don't get contact with them. They've just sort of disappeared off the radar.
Mm-hmm.
Sharon
I've
does.
always made decisions based around, I guess because of my way that I think, any decision I make is based around, what's best for me? How does it affect others? If I make this decision, what's the impact on me, myself, and everyone around me? If I make that decision, what's the best impact? You know, what's the impact on everyone? So, like, I totally analyze every situation and who it affects and, you know, what the potential outcomes are, you know, and which outcome's going to be better with less impact. And, like I said, don't even want to let you too much into how my brain works. But
the filing system gets opened.
It does. It
does.
Oh,
Lord. It opens up a can of worms.
It does, like Pandora's box. And everyone says, you know, you take a long time to make a decision, and it's not because, you know, I'm indecisive. It's because I'm sitting there and analysing every aspect and every person involved and every outcome and everything like that, you know, and then the decision is based on the best for everybody, the best intention for everybody. Yeah.
And because you've still got family at home too, you've got to think of that. You've got Darren, partner. It's the same with you, Teresa. You know, with people in the house, you've got to think of people in the house, people that you live with, those kind of things. You've got to think of your neighbours. You've got to think of the people around you. Like, if I do something here, you know, I want to get out and mow the lawns at 6 a.m. in the morning. I can't do that. I can't make that decision because I've got neighbours, you know. It's just, you've got to think things through and look at options and ways of doing things. Okay. Okay, so that covers the decision, and we'll leave it because it's on record. People can put their input. And have you noticed how when people are asking for advice now, they go, they open up with a negative comment like, I'm not sure, or what is it, like, I'm not sure. They don't come in with a positive punchline first and then get you to answer. They always come in with a negative start. So if they're coming in with a negative start, it's usually because they're not in the right mind space. So quite often you'll get people say, look, I'm really upset, I'm really depressed. Well, you're immediately putting that spell on you to be that way, to make the decision. So it's also about the way you word things and the way that you actually come across to get some good opinions, some good answers. Because remember, words are spells. And so you're putting yourself in that space. I'm hurt. I'm hurting. No, you're not. You're not hurting. You're sitting here talking to me. You're okay. You've got to this point where you can ask for help. It's that kind of, got to look at the way people are asking now for help, and when it comes to decision making, you can read them straight away by the way they open up to you and the first comments they make. And that's something you've got to be able to do really, really good. Be a good listener and look for signs and read people. Best to protect myself. So this is basic stuff, but we'll go over it because in this group we do it all the time. So I listed the things: gold source light, layers, coppers, mirrors, dragons, ascended masters, and all that we know. So the ones that we work with, Team Alliance, our own personal guides as well, I ask all the time. Even when I get into Bluebell, St. Christopher, everything is always under protection. So this is a good practice to remember to get into. And it was interesting because I'd be driving, when Teresa or you were with me, we'd be driving along the road and I'd go, we haven't asked St. Christopher. So it's always making sure you've got that practice in place just to have extra protection whenever you're undertaking something or doing your daily life, living, sleeping, whatever you're doing. Make sure you make it a practice and look at the layers. Put a layer upon layer upon layer. That's why I like your prayer, Teresa, because it's so deep. It's got so many layers. And I know when we were on the retreat, we felt so protected.
Mm-hmm.
Wasn't it good, Sharon? It was a really good one.
Absolutely. It blew me away the first time I heard it. I'm like, this is so amazing. I felt like I'd stuck myself in a safe, like literally like bolted us in there, and it's like no one's getting in, no one's getting out.
I know, you really felt
so secure. Yeah.
But the thing is we've got it there. We should be using it. Teresa recorded it. It's in the room. You should have downloaded it and you can use it again on your own phone so that you've got it. You can just play it in the car when you're driving along. You're under that protection. Same with crystals that we wear, our protection crystals. And I love your practice, Teresa, and I told people about this, to put your crystals under your pillow, under your feet, in your bed, beside you, and so forth. Put a protection of crystals around you at all times. Wear them like we do. I've got my St. Christopher. Poor old St. Christopher never comes off, Sharon. It's always on me. God help me if I ever take him off.
I'm sure he feels it's a privilege to be hanging around your neck.
Poor darling. Oh, lordy. And that's why I wear my bracelets, because at least I've got them somewhere on me, as well. So always your crystals and your crystals in your bra, whatever practice you have your crystals. Always ask. This is my heart's good again. This is going to help humanity. Is this going to be good for New Earth? Because I'm not doing it otherwise. And we're going to be realistic here, because we do have families, friends, and people we've got to think of. But I'm just thinking in general conversation, if you have a form of protection you need, always ask. Someone might ask you to go to a bar or a nightclub, and it's not really where you're meant to be, because you're not going to be 100%, your protection is going to be kind of off with the energy. So is it of my higher good? Is it off for humanity? Or ask yourself those questions. remember Sherry, and she asked about going to this trip recently, and I said, no, go, absolutely go. This is what you're meant to be doing. You're sharing your light there. You'll be under protection. You'll be okay. And that was really good of her because she was a bit nervous about that trip, remember? But
Yeah.
she did feel safe to come into the room and ask. Again, this is the one I got stuck on, guys, watching for warning signs. Okay, so we've got gut feeling and messages. So that's our intuition. What else? Heart feeling, I
Yeah.
suppose.
I think what I've noticed when I go off track or, go against my gut feeling is that things that normally fall into place in your life when you're on the right track seem to stop, like all your synchronicities and things like that. Like there are warning signs before doing it because it's like, no, you've taken the wrong path. The grass isn't green, it's dying or it's wilted over on this side, or, just as examples, like there are telltale signs around if you're open to look and see them.
Yeah, I agree. And you had that recently with your trip away. You were out of the area and you met those people, and that was so much where you were meant to be at the time. It was spot on.
Absolutely. I was drawn there. Yeah, 100%. And there's just that I know it's probably a part of your gut feeling, but that wariness is like, oh, I don't, you know that something's not right, whether it's the hair on the back of your neck stands up, or your gut feels heavy instead of light and free like it should, or the thoughts start coming in that I don't think this is right or whatever. Like there's telltale signs
as well. Conscience.
Yeah.
Picking up the vibe.
Yeah.
The frequency change.
Yeah, that's true. Good one. Yeah, that's another one. You can feel the frequency change. That's why I say if you go somewhere and it's not for your highest good, you immediately feel the frequencies off, the vibrations off, and it's time to get out of here. So don't stay there because that's a warning sign for you.
Absolutely.
Okay, so that's good. All right. And if anything, like you say, flows freely and the consistency is there, it's working for you. You're not going against something. You're not making it happen. You're not pushing it. It's flowing. Yeah, so free flowing is another sign. If everything is not too hard and it's free flowing, then you're doing the right thing for your vibration and everyone around you. Okay.
It's when you start getting faced with hurdles and things like that, or when you're making plans. When you're making plans and nothing goes according to plan, you've got to take a step back and reassess everything and go, well, hold on a minute, why isn't this working? And it may be due to a bad decision, or you've got to retract and take the other path.
And be brave. It might not be where you want to be, but you've got to allow yourself to go on the fly, right?
Put your big girl panties on.
Okay, so then on top of that, we can look at the legal aspect of protecting ourselves. And this is really important now that we're going into the era of truth and what, the medical system's been doing. Our governments don't care about us. They never did. You're looking at, sort of the whole legal practices and everything that they've been doing. So what do we need to do? We need to know our rights. And there's one important part of that is if you're going into a situation, say you have to go to a courtroom or to a lawyer, to a doctor or whatever, know your rights because that's your own self-protection. Go in educated and have all the right answers because if you haven't got that, that's when their lies, they're trying to keep their lies going, they play on you, and then that's when they feed the fear. So you're going to know your
Yeah.
rights. And then keep documentation. Remember to keep your documentation, keep or record things on your phone, whatever you need to do. Always have that there, because if you're not having that kind of protection for yourself, you've got nothing to go back on. And in this day and age, they want proof of everything. And it's only going to get worse, because now that they're looking at reveals, they need proof. Professional conversation. So I'm talking, go to a lawyer, justice peace, someone you trust, know, and someone in that field if you're going to be doing something. So get that professional conversation going, even a counsellor or someone. And then another way of protecting yourself is, of course, they've just listed your property and your technology. They always have, virus protection on your phones, on your laptops. That's just standard. Have your insurance around your property. Have contracts so that no one else can come and steal stuff from you or have access to what you own. All that kind of thing. Okay. Another thing for protection is don't give too much of yourself away too soon. And take time in moving forward or making changes. Take your time. Don't always rush in feet first, and don't leap from the frying pan into the fire kind of thing, because that's where you get yourself into trouble. You haven't given yourself time to adjust, work things out. Anyone got anything to add to that?
Or making decisions when you're really excited and things like that, because you feel so good about everything, and you could make a decision that's not right on the spot. That's why sometimes you do have to stop and think about it and just say, oh, I'll let you know tomorrow.
Yeah, give yourself time to sleep on it.
Yeah.
Because if you're on a high, you're thinking at a high, not at a realistic view. And that was like that one when I said to you, it comes into decisions too. What state of mind am I in? I mean, protection, stay away from low vibrational people and things. Well, that's just basic stuff, Be careful who you get involved with. Be careful the people you have conversations with, and, the things that you get involved in, because people can get trapped into all sorts of cults, witchcraft, black magic, any of those kind of things always. But then your gut feeling's going to hopefully give you warning signs.
Yeah. Yeah, and then you do have to watch out too, because there are people about who'll put on a really good act.
Yeah.
You don't try and feel through it, or just give it time. Another give it time thing. Don't rush.
Absolutely. And you've got the narcissists out there. You've got the wolf in sheep's clothing, that kind of thing. And as I said, there's people out there that want to hurt us. They want to dim our light because they can't stand it, or they want to park. They want to hijack it.
Yes.
They want to harvest it.
Yeah.
And the other basic things: be careful of the movies you watch. So, movie industry, watch beautiful movies like that one you and I watched recently. Something that was really good. Jonathan Livingston Seeger. Watch good documentaries, watch good YouTube, things like cooking, creative things, frequency. Same with music industry. Be very careful what music you play, because that has satanic, demonic connotations to it that could be coming into your energy field and affecting the way you think, feel, and see. Again, that's something that I can't stress enough with the music industry, because it's Michael Jackson warned us about that. He said it's all spell casting. And then meat, again, this is controversial. It's up to you if you eat red meat or not, but pray over it. give it a good vibration. If you are going to eat it, allow it to be good for your body, not bad for your body. As a personal choice, I don't eat red meat, but it's up to you how you feel. How some of you can't because you're in family situations, or you're in that situation. You still haven't adjusted to that vibration yet. There might be something else you're working on in your body or part of your journey. So no judgment here, just putting it out there. Same with alcohols, drugs, and pharmaceutical medicines. Again, try and get off pharmaceutical medicines and alcohol and drugs. Wasn't it interesting? I was thinking about this as I wrote it down. Tom Cruise warned us about the what was it that one for? Was it ADD? Remember? And he said, don't take Ritalin.
Yeah.
As a paleontologist,
Yeah.
he was actually warning people about that as implants. So, these are the things that we have to help people get off. And, we have started in this group, and I'm really proud of the work we've done with the Tourette's. I want to get on with the Spectrum, Starseed children, that kind of thing, so we can stop that medical industry doing its thing. But remember, we did do some work on that, and it is collapsing. Notice all the vaccine companies are at the moment in court cases, that kind of thing. And now the pharmacies here in New Zealand, I notice, are starting to go to court.
Oh.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they caught people in pharmacies now doing vaccines that they weren't meant to do.
Yeah.
Giving vaccines, yeah. Social media, filter your social media so you get good stuff come through. I'm trying. I get all sorts of shit because everyone else watches it, and then it comes up. When you've got 600 people on your Facebook page, and some of them are watching dark stuff or whatever, it then comes into my feed, and it's like, will you stop it? Because I'm trying to get rid of that. But then, if it's anything good, I will share it because it helps us to have it like a library. So when all these reveals do come out, you go, I saw something on that. Now, was that in Speak Your Truth? Did Amelia post it somewhere? And you can go get it, okay? Because it's going to be like a library. Again, YouTube, filter that. Any of those things. Filter what you watch, what you see. Tell you what, your spiritual practices. I lost track of what spiritual practices every day. Do your meditations. If you can't do those, remember, it just means sitting calmly, even in the car. Use that time to talk to your guides, sing, light language, whatever. Channel. Just watch out when a red line comes up. Make sure you brake. Bearing. Do your oils. Do your navel oil. Do your third eye. Do your protection. That's why I lie in bed some mornings longer than normal, because I check in with my guides, do my little bit of meditation. What am I going to talk about today? Is there any messages for anyone? Any of those. It takes a while for me just to get up, get organised, and have breakfast these days before I even get to living my life. Cleansing your space. So decluttering, incense, oil, spray, crystals. What else? Plants, put plants, flowers, good high vibrational music, wind chimes, anything like that in your space. Keep it clear, keep it good, keep it open. And again, if you have any agreements, make sure they're good agreements of the highest good, and that they're honest and fair, and you're protected in any of those agreements, because agreements are coming not only in reality, but with your higher self. That's the next level we go into. When we get our crystalline diamond bodies, we go back into new agreements. So get into practice doing good agreements. Okay, like for the people that are still in 3D matrix work, Sharon, how you cope? What are your practices to cut yourself off from that?
I don't actually have like a big social group. Like I've got a very tight knit circle of friends, I guess. Even if
Yeah,
you could call them a circle, because one or two is not really a circle.
yeah,
I go to my 3D matrix job. I do what I do with the best intentions, share my light as much as possible, stay positive, etc., etc. And then basically I come home back to my house where it's my sanctuary. Like I leave the 3D world behind and come back here and just wash it all off in the shower, eat
yeah,
good food, go out in my veggie garden and ground myself a bit. I don't switch on the TV. I don't listen to like my kids hate it because I like the silence, because obviously I've got a fairly active brain myself and there's a lot goes on in here.
yeah,
The only time I actually listen to music or anything like that is sometimes just to dull down all the voices in my head, because there's just so many of them in there. God, it
yeah.
makes me sound like a psychopath. All these voices.
Maybe you are. Maybe that's the true meaning. Maybe they've misread what a psychopath is. Maybe it is a
Yeah,
good thing. You don't know.
possibly.
So you've put that practice in place for yourself. So you come home, like me, I don't put my TV on unless there's something I really want to watch and I know it's coming on or it's connected to something that's going to be of the highest good or informative. The other night I watched a UFO thing. It was
Mhm.
quite interesting. It was okay. It was sort of like a few lies in there, but pretty standard. And then
Yeah.
I flick over to YouTube, and that's when I watch how to make bread. That's how to do things. So that's for a couple of hours, maybe at night if I'm lucky. Usually I'm sitting here writing stuff up. And so they're our practices, and that's how we can look at it. So it's not hard to put something in place when you really want to. Okay, look at support because that's really important in this space moving forward, and I want to open. It just helps. You might be having a bit of a weird morning. Just pick up, say, hey, does anyone want to talk to me? So conversations in there with everyone, or with just putting
Mhm.
things up and typing. Look upon it as your tribe, as part of your extension of yourself. This is really important. Like, you are my family. There is no other family for me anymore. This
Mm.
is extension of who I am now. So,
Same here. I generally tell you guys stuff before I tell my immediate family. And then I
it's
get the
funny.
guilt on. It's like, hold on a minute. I've got,
Mm, I
I
know. I know.
better
So,
tell my actual family as well. Otherwise they're gonna feel left out. Yeah.
yeah, I'm the same. I usually tell you guys before I tell my niece Tracy or anybody anything too. It's really funny. All got something to share. So it's good support. That's what I mean, support. If you're going through something and you think you look foolish, you're not. Just join us because that's what the room's for. Another way is to join groups that you're interested in. So that's just standard. Reach out, help, suggestions, which everyone's been doing. Share your achievements and your struggles. It's not always about bad stuff. It's about the amazing good stuff. Look at counseling, healing, meditation, on the walking, outdoors, nature, beach, mountains, water, that kind of thing, in the garden. Making sure you take time to do those things because you're supporting Earth and Earth is supporting you. You don't know until you've been out in the garden, on the ground, how good you feel afterwards. You might just be having a bad moment. Go stand out on the grass in your bare feet Do a bit of self-healing on yourself if you have to. You know, I can't just keep sharing things.
Talk about our gardens.
That's what I said. Our conversation has changed so much. I'd never have talked about our gardens 2 years ago like that. And how good we're all. Look at what Christine shared with us the other day. God, I'm so overjoyed for her, and her rhubarb and everything. She's doing so good. You too, Sharon, giving your tour, you know, and then this is the thing. Doing the tour around our gardens is healing for us. It's uplifting. You know, it's a form of support. It helps us, makes us feel good. It's like, you know,
mine's just detaching away from everything else. That's like, my family ain't interested in my garden, although they're happy to eat the abundance from it, but they're not interested in growing it. So it's my thing. Like, I don't have many things for myself, but you know, I get such great joy out of going out there and watering and fertilizing and, you know, snipping at my tomatoes, or, you know, pulling a couple of weeds and things like that. Like, it's just relaxation for me, because it's not the 9 to 5 grind, and it's something that I can go out there and have complete peace and be at one with Mother Gaia, and, you know, thoroughly relax and enjoy it. And to me it's just so important. And even I've gotten into, like, you, bread making. I'm sitting here mixing my sourdough starter right now.
Oh yeah, you're so clever. Do you know what, Teresa? She's making sourdough bread already. She's way ahead of us and brave to do it. I'm too scared to try sourdough. So well done, you. And this is what I mean. Yeah. We inspire each other too. And that's what gives me the inspiration to see you guys doing things as well. And it's like, you know, this is what it's all about, working together and supporting one another. And maybe we should do more of this type of thing, or girl chat, or, you know, because we're learning and bouncing things off one another. And just if you're in each other's company, it's like, well, we've not really got any distance between us. We're all here together in this space, you know. It's you might be miles apart, but in soul, we're all together. We're close. We're together and connected.
Yeah. But even like at work, I've taken a couple of sourdough starters to the girls at work, because they're like, "Oh, I've wanted to do that for years and not known where to get a starter from." So I start a starter off of mine and give it to them with the instructions and everything. And then they're like, "So why are you doing this? You don't really, you know, we know how much you work. You don't really have a lot of time." And I'm like, "Well, and what are you making your own bread for? Like, instead of just going to the shop and buying, you know, a loaf of bread for $4, why are you going to all this trouble? Because it is quite a process." And I'm like, "Well, for one, I don't want processed food. I want to know everything that's in my food. Like, I don't eat processed food. It's all, you know, from my garden, or, you know, everything's made from scratch." I said, it's important to me to feed and nourish my family with the best ingredients that I can, you know, and I don't sit in front of the TV, because I'd be much rather up creating or doing something to occupy and use my hands that way, instead of dumbing my brain down in, like, sitting in front of the TV like a zombie. You know, so although I don't have a lot of time at home, the time I do have, I use doing quality things.
I was like that when I was working like you are now, and I remember thinking, I wish I had time to do art. I wish I had time to do this. Now look at me. I can actually sit here and do my art and practice and do the things that I've never ever had time to do, because by the time I'd finished walking around Brisbane River, I used to get home some nights around 7:30, and I'd left the house at 8, you know, so I was away.
That's generally my day.
So
I think the other thing, the important thing is your own self-care and self-love as well. Like, a lot of us are mums, and have got family members that we put all of our time and energy into making sure that they're all fed and safe and looked after, that we forget about ourselves.
Yeah.
And we need
And
to
our
take
babies, our little baby, 4-legged babies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we need to make sure that, not only are we looking after everybody else, we also need to put ourselves first, because if we struggle or something happens to us, we essentially can't look after them either. So we're not just letting ourselves down, we're letting them down as well. So we need to remember that, we need to nourish ourselves properly. We need to, go and get a haircut, or, take the time out to have a hot soak in the bath and, pamper ourselves and give ourselves some love, as well as, as much love as we give everybody else. I think that's just as important.
It's interesting you say that, because a lot of people forget to do that for themselves. They don't know how to do that and give that time to themselves, do they? They forget.
Well, that's right. But if you can't, you've got to love yourself first before you can love anybody else.
Absolutely.
And we tend to love everybody else and then put ourselves last, and we can't get into that habit of doing that, because it's so important that we give ourselves that time and that space and that love and the energy as well. And when you feel good, everyone around you feels good, because they can feel that, that you're strong and healthy and loved. It has a flow-on effect.
And do you think also, this is another thing that is forgotten, is the way to do self-care? People forget that what self-care actually is. This is another thing. A lot of mothers have forgotten how to give themselves self-care.
Yeah. And they put
so
so much time and effort into everybody else. At the end of the day, they're that exhausted from all that they've given to everybody else that they don't have time to give to themselves. They fall into bed to wake up the next day to go at it all over again. And then how much time goes past before they think, oh, I'm exhausted, or I need to do something, or, my health has deteriorated because I haven't nourished myself properly, or, my hair's falling out because I haven't, been to the hairdresser or something, it's always too late. They think to do it after it's too late, instead of taking that care all the time.
It's important too, as part of your decision making, to consider your health. Make that your practice as well. How's this going to affect some of our health? How's it going to affect, different aspects of our family unit? Because, people forget that there's other people that have to be accounted for in those decisions. That was going back, I'm going to the decision thing again. And so, this is why a lot of the mums or people that are in charge or have caring positions forget to look after themselves, because they're always worried about what the other person's doing or how that's going to affect, they're accountable for different things and so forth. And it's selfless love. That's what it is. They're selfless. They hand into themselves. That's right. So,
but this is I think has become a part of the programming, where they push the divine feminine down to, look after the man and the family, and you run the household and do all that kind of stuff. It's taken away from that divine feminine, because if you think about what divine feminine is, it is something that you would be proud of and you would worship other women, yourself better, all that kind of stuff. And we've been programmed to, just basically serve our family and our husbands and everything else, that we've put ourselves to the side, and it's not just our physical health, it's our mental health as well. We get to, when your physical health suffers, so does your mental health, because when you're undernourished or, not feeling loved, how does that affect you mentally?
A lot of stuff comes from the heart and the gut, doesn't it? Because your gut is your second brain. Your gut is your second brain.
Well,
And
I
your heart.
feel it's more important than your brain.
Yeah, it is. It
It
is. That's
knows
why people
it
that
knows
have,
before my brain does.
yeah, that's why people that have gut problems or issues with food or stomach and that, they suffer with heartburn and stuff because it affects the heart, affects the soul. And it's like you said, you've got to learn to look
Yeah.
after yourself and love yourself.
Yeah,
Mm.
definitely.